Hi, welcome to the Northwest. My name is Dena and I am a knitter, crocheter in a suburb of Tacoma, Washington. And this is my YouTube channel where I talk about knitting, crocheting, yarn, all the good stuff there. So glad that you're here, and this is episode 7. So let's start with finished objects. We'll talk about works in progress. I'll give you an update on the whip Smackdown, and I'll talk a little bit about stashing your yarn. So if that sounds interesting to you, come join me. Hope you grab yourself a beverage of your choice. This is just coffee. So let's start off with what I'm wearing. I am wearing the Flock Vest by Andrea Mowry. This is a finished object as well. It's made with acrylic yarn that I had in stash. So this is like Michael's Loops and Threads. The orange, and this is pretty orange, is I believe from Johanne's. And then the pink is, I love this yarn, from Hobby Lobby. So just the stash scrap yarns that I had enough of to make this vest. I got a 16 stitch gauge. The pattern calls for 21 stitch gauge, so I was way off. And Knitting McPurley has a gauge switcheroo worksheet that you can get from her website. It's free. You can download it. It looks like you're checking out and paying for it, but it's $0, and yeah, you don't have to pay for it, but it's free. I used it for this pattern and it worked perfectly. You just input the gauge that you have, and then you do the math that's within this worksheet, and it tells you what size to make based on the gauge and the fabric that you like. So it worked out great for me. I took her gauge switcheroo and I put it into a Google Sheet. I love data and I use Google Sheets all the time, and created formulas so that it would just kind of calculate for you so you didn't have to do the extra mathing. And I will link both Knitting McPurley's worksheet and then the Google Sheet if you would like to take a look at those. The Google Sheet you do need a Google account for, and when you click on the link it'll ask that you make a copy, and then you can go from there. Anyway, so this is the Andrea Mowry Flock Vest. Fun pattern. It worked up very quickly being at a 16 gauge. I am just waiting on the buttons to come. The buttons I ordered off of Etsy. So let me show you the buttons, and then I'll show you the flock vest. So here are the buttons. I think they will look perfect with this. So I'm so excited. So they're on their way. And then the flock vest is Andrea Mowry's latest pattern for the Flock Fiber Festival. I can't even talk. So this is what it looks like. Super fun. You can make it cropped, or you can make it full-length version. I made mine the full-length version, but it's super fun and easy to do. Would recommend it. Like an aha moment I had is that you knit a stripe, and then you have to pick up the yarn for the next colored stripe, and it's on the other end of where you just finished. And Andrea tells you in the pattern to just slide your needle over and then pick up, and it's like, well, duh, obviously you could just slide it and pick up the yarn and work that across and then work back. Genius pattern, like aha moments that I didn't think of before. So there you go. All right, so my next finished object is the Autumn Alpine. I'm going to turn it here so you can see it on Miss Baker here, my mannequin. So this is the Autumn Alpine by Caitlin Hunter. And I really enjoyed working on this, but I picked the wrong size. So here's the Autumn Alpine. I'll insert some footage here of me trying it on so that you could see what it looked like before blocking, and even after blocking it was the same. I was hoping that this yarn is Temu yarn, and this sparkly colorwork yarn is, hang on, let me find it, is Bumbo Moonlight, that I think I picked up from Ice Yarns years and years ago, so I don't even know if you can still get it. But my color work is definitely very tight. You can see that it puckers quite a bit. And yeah, so I was hoping blocking and stretching it would help alleviate the problem and it would fit me better. It didn't. So blocking it really didn't do much. Even with the Temu yarn, you can see here, like my gauge changed a little bit between when I kind of put it on hold for a while and then picked it back up again. I was hoping that would block out, and it didn't. So just know that if you're getting yarn from Temu, that it may or may not block out the way you would like. But what I do love about this pattern are these details in the hem and the neckline and then the sleeves. You do a little bit of color work and you have just the strands of your color work yarn throughout. It's a beautiful, beautiful technique. I love it. But yes, I did pick the wrong size. I kind of knew that going into it, so I wasn't surprised that it didn't fit. I am a bit frustrated, but it is what it is. I'm thinking that I'll probably gift this to a youth member at our church, just because it's very cropped, and a lot of the older generation don't care for that. Even my generation, but I do love cropped sweaters for dresses and stuff, and so that was my intent for this one. But yeah, very nice, enjoyable pattern. Really, I think it worked up very well. Just you need to learn to gauge swatch, which brings me to my next finished projects. So I didn't gauge swatch really a lot. I've learned through the years that gauge swatching is actually a very good thing. But I find that gauge swatching, to me, it feels wasteful, right? You're wasting yarn, you're wasting time. But think of how much time you invest in a garment. You kind of want it to fit. Hence the gauge switcheroo worksheet, which really helps. So if you're getting a fabric that you like, but it's a different gauge, then utilizing that worksheet really does make a difference. But what I did discover was the Swatchtastic pattern from Tincan Knits. So the Swatchtastic, isn't that fantastic? So you can make a bunting out of your swatches and have them be useful, beautiful little tools. The pattern comes with stockinette as well as garter, so you can check your gauge in either format. I don't think it gives instructions for in the round, because then you'd end up with these little things on the end that you kind of have to work out. But I think you could do this in the round. You would just need to make sure that your float or whatever on the back is loose enough, but yet loose enough to create the swatch, but tight enough so that it doesn't show through the other side, so that you could still use it as a bunting piece. I was even thinking that you could somehow take your crochet hook and just kind of connect the floats in the back to kind of tie them in a little bit if you make them too loose. So it's something I'll play around with should I need to do something in the round. So I did a couple of gauge swatches, because if you've been with me long enough, you know that I love to start projects. So this is the swatch I've done for Beth MacDonald Stone's Mango Tea. And the swatch itself is fun to do, doesn't take much time, but it does give you a way to measure out your gauge. So the Mango Tea, oh, I had my pattern here close by. This is my second time recording this, by the way. The Mango Tea is so I was watching Beth MacDonald Stone's latest podcast, and she talked about how the mango tea is her favorite tea to wear as a garment, and that's what sold me on getting it. Also on her podcast, she'll feature one of her patterns and do a reduced price for a couple weeks, and so it's a way for you to get her patterns at a discount and be able to do them. And I really love the boxy blue that I made, that I wanted to try more of her patterns, and so I'm gonna do the mango tea, and I have started that. Oh, here it is. So a little segue into a work in progress. So the mango tea, you can do it with the stripes, or you can do solid, of course, whatever you wish. And this, today is June 2nd, 2026, and so this pattern is currently discounted. So if you are interested and want to try it out, go for that. So I had intended to have this yarn as my main color and this as my stripes. Well, when I started the pattern, I wasn't paying attention, and I ended up using this as my main color, and I was like, oh. I was like, that's okay. I like it. It's really pretty. It'll go good. But I have enough of this yarn to create a t-shirt that I don't want to use it as stripes and then not have enough to be able to do another project with it. So I did pick up a different colorway in this yarn. This is Hobby Lobby's Yarn Bee Authentic Hand-Dyed Fingering. And so what I chose was this colorway, and I don't know what the colorway is. I wound this up years ago and didn't keep the tag for it. So, but I'm going to use this with this as my main color, and I think that is going to be so fun. This pattern is very interesting and very cool technique. So you create a bunch of short rows by knitting back and forth and doing your raglan increases at the same time before you join in the round. So that way when you finally join in the round, you have your short row shaping already completed. So very cool technique. I'm excited to finish this. I need to, so I've ordered Chowgu needles in 3.5 with a longer cord. It's getting a little bunched up on here and kind of hard to manage, but that's the start of my mango tea, and I'm super excited to get that one going. So yeah, but back to the Swatchtastic. So that worked out great, and I think this will be my favorite way to swatch. Then I also swatched again for the Olga jacket, and used the gauge switcheroo worksheet because my gauge is definitely different. This is very, very drapey yarn. That worked up great. And this yarn is Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek DK. And this is just the softest, loveliest, drapiest yarn. I want to say this is a 4mm needle. And yeah, oh, it's fantastic. So yeah, I just wanted to share the Swatchtastic pattern with you because I thought that was a really cool idea. So I picked up the Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek in pumpkin, blood orange, here's the, sorry, oxblood, pumpkin, linen, and then peacock something or other. And then the 5th color is a green. So I think that'll make a really beautiful Olga jacket. So that's what I'm intending for that. Haven't started yet, but I just swatched for it. My last finished object, I was gifted a bunch of acrylic yarn from an individual from church. Her mom had some leftover yarn that she was trying to move. And so I just have all this acrylic yarn to utilize as stash busting, and so I looked at I found the pocket dragon. These guys are so cute. So excited. Okay, so let me look it up here on Ravelry. the Pocket Dragon. Sorry, Small Pocket Dragon is what I should say, by Amanda Ray. Aren't they just the cutest little things? So fun. And I've made 3, but the third one has gone to my son, one of my sons, and here are the 2 that I have left over, but aren't they so cute? The eyes, I think, make it. These eyes I just picked up on Amazon, and this guy reminds me of How to Train Your Dragon. Isn't he cute? And part of the pattern is that you create this little loop underneath to where you can put it on your finger. I made these loops kind of small because for little people. And he can be flying. Isn't that just the cutest little pattern? So it's essentially like a granny square. But as you are going about your granny, you do pick up and create the wings and the tail, and then you do the little amigurumi head. That doesn't take very long. There are instructions in the pattern about creating different spikes. Super, super cute. But yeah, isn't he great? Oh my gosh, so fun. So yeah, very fun. So if you have little people in your life and you want a quick project, that is definitely one of them. Okay, works in progress. So we have a little baby on its way in our church, and knowing my church body and the women that are there, she's gonna get a ton of like handmade items, which I think is fantastic. So I was like, I don't want to give them another blanket or garment or something. So I was like, I would like to do a Lovey. So in my library, I had a bunny Lovey, and there's a bunch of patterns on Ravelry for it, but I chose this one that says Bunny Lovey Parts and Pieces, and it's a free pattern, and that's probably why I chose it. And basically it gives you instructions for the head, the ears, and the arms, but you get to choose your own pattern for the blanket part. So you could make a granny square, you could do the star-shaped blanket that they have. I found a 8-pointed star blanket on from Bago de Crochet, and so that's what I chose to do, was an 8-pointed star blanket. And so that's kind of essentially what it looks like. So I'm just finishing up the bottom here. This will be a finished object by next time around. But the baby shower's coming up, so I will just take photos probably and show it to you. But that's the blanket part. And here's the head. And then here's her arms. So I didn't have enough of the cream to create the full arm, so I decided to do a striped pattern and then repeat the stripes in her dress. And then I found a YouTube tutorial for embroidering eyes and the nose, and I really like these eyes and how they turned out. They're not just kind of quick ones, but you have a little bit of detailing with the white. You can't really see it here, but it just adds definition to the eyes and makes it super cute. I'll link that in the description below as well. And if I haven't mentioned, the description will have a link to Ravelry bundle, so you can go look at all the patterns and then go from there, as well as Knitting McPurley's gauge switcheroo, and I will link the Google sheet that I created based on her information. Okay, I want to talk about the Northeasterly blanket. I've done very little on this, but here's where I was last time, and I've added just 3 more. Arrows. The Northeasterly blanket is a free pattern on Ravelry, and you just create these arrow shapes in strips. I'm showing you the back side, I think. Yep. You create these arrow strips in strips, and then you join as you go. So it's a really nice way to do it, and this is the width of the blanket, so it's not, you know, super wide, but it's intended to be a baby blanket. so I'm just adding this direction as I go. This yarn is Bella Coco Confection DK crochet. Bella Coco is a crochet designer. She has subscription boxes, so if that's something you're interested in, you can go find her on the World Wide Web. And it's just Bella Coco. I did these subscription boxes a couple years ago, and found them interesting. Didn't really enjoy the patterns as much, so canceled kind of that subscription box. It came with yarn, patterns, a hook, some other little accoutrements that came in there. So it was fun for a little bit, but not something I wanted to continue, so I did cancel it. Next, I'm going to share a project I started out of this book. This is Coates and Clark's Afghans. This little booklet was 35 cents, and the copyright on this is 1969, so before I was born, this little booklet was put out. This came in that gifted yarn that I got, acrylic yarn, and as I was playing with my yarn stash, I'll talk about that in a minute, I saw how much worsted weight acrylic yarn that I had and was like, I need to do kind of a stash busting project. So I picked up this, and I'm going to do this blanket called the Bric-a-Brac. I don't know if you can get this pattern anywhere, but this is a very interesting book. And it's basically zigzags, and you do long strips and then you sew them together. I seem to be in making strips and sewing things together. And I did get that started, so I got one strip done. And so I've gotten that started. And I'm just using DPNs because it's not a very long stretch. But yeah, just knitting that back and forth to create this stair step pattern, and then we'll continue to make more as I go with that. So that's the Bric-a-Brac. That will be a long-term project for sure, as I'm using up stash and going from there. All right, I think that's it for those projects. I do want to talk about 2 works in progress that are my own design. I don't have patterns for these, but they're ones that I have kind of designed based on what I've learned over the years. The first one is I'm calling it the Grid Gang Tee, and it's based loosely on this pattern from Premier called Offset Stripe Pullover. Free pattern, so you can go pick this up. But I based it off of this construction of knitting 2 panels, so a front panel and then a back panel, and then you just join them at the shoulders and at the sides, pick up and knit the ribbing on the arm. So it's loosely based on this construction technique, but I've added some mosaic knitting color work to it, which is why it's called the Grid Gang Tee. Sorry, something in my throat. Hang on. So here is where I'm at. I'm almost done with this. I just need to pick it up and finish it. So that is the back. Let me grab the front, or the front or the back. So here's the construction. And so it goes like this. And then you've got this color work bit at the bottom. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this color work here or if I'm going to change it out and just continue to use the maroon or not. But I'm working on the back sleeve. So you basically just work your way up, cast on stitches for the sleeves, continue to go up, and then seam it together. Like I said, there isn't a pattern for this. Is that something you guys are interested in? Is this pattern? But look at that cool color work. Isn't that amazing? This maroon yarn is like the softest thing ever. Oh my goodness. So this yarn is Karen Cloud Cakes. So soft, 100% polyester, feels like fleece. So it's beautiful. I've made another tee in this yarn and I love it. It's one of my favorite things to wear. And the color work, I'm using Red Heart Unforgettable in the color Parrot as the color work. So that's working out really well. I'm excited to get that finished and start wearing it. So, but yeah, if you're interested in the pattern, let me know and I will consider whether to write one or not. I wrote up my last tee that I made in this Karen Cloud Cake, and it was more than I thought. And so the whole idea of putting my work out there to have people test it and whatnot, just kind of, it's a little scary, right? Anyway, so yeah, that's the first one that I've put together. I've been creating, and then the second one is a few episodes ago I talked about using pooling yarn and wanting to do assigned pooling yarn, an assigned pooling shawl. And so I started that one. I forget the name of it, but I didn't like how the fabric was coming out. It was just pulling and tugging in weird ways, and I didn't really enjoy doing the blips of color. So I did frog that back, and I cast on, but in crochet. Because I thought, you know what, I could do a bobble with the blips of color or a popcorn stitch, and that's exactly what I did. So here is what I'm calling popcorn in the pool. I think that's what I've called this. So it's the assigned pooling, and assigned pooling is when you have yarn that has, it's basically one color except for there's a section of the skein that's a different color, and every time you come to that, you create your, in this case, the popcorn stitch, and then you keep going and then create the popcorn stitch every time you come to it. I've added another colorway here, so it's basically seed stitch until you do the popcorn, and then you keep going, and then you go from there. But yeah, it's a triangle shawl, crocheted seed stitch, using assigned pooling for one of the colorways. The assigned pooling colorway is from Dragonfly Fibers. This is Home on the Range in the colorway Pixie. So beautiful. And then the other yarn I'm using, this one that looks like fields, it looks like a field of flowers here, is from Ancient Art Yarns. It's their Socknado base in the colorway Ollie Winter Flowers. The Socknado base is a much thicker, so it's fingering weight, but it's thicker, so it's like on the verge of a sport weight. So if you use Socknado, you get a very plush sock out of it, or a plush yarn. So, all right, let me know if you're interested in either one of those patterns. I will look into writing them up and then figure out maybe getting some testers or something. Just depends on how many testers I can get. The whole thing with a garment, though, is that you have to do the sizing and all of that, and that's a lot of math. So I'm not sure I'm ready for that. Yeah. Well, I think that's it for the works in progress and everything. Oh, no, one more. So Knitting with Pearly sent out her Hat of the Month Club, and this is June's colors, blue and white fingering. And I don't have the whatchamacallit with me, but I decided to do the Edith hat. So since this was calling for color work, I went to my library and found the Edith hat, which I've made before. And now I can't find it. Hang on. It was one of my first colorwork projects that I did, and it came out really well. I gifted it, so I don't have it with me anymore. Here we go. It's called Edith the hat. I love the crown. It builds up to being like a star shape. Let me see if I can show you a picture of the crown. No, she doesn't have a good picture of the crown, but yeah, just beautiful. And I love the picot edge on this. That's what really drew me to it. So the picot edge is that you knit the base of the crown, and then you do some eyelet rows, and then when you fold it up to join it together, it creates this little picot edge. Very easy to do, surprising. But it's so cute. But yeah, not very far on it, but I figured that would make it perfect. Edith hat. Okay, so that ends what I'm talking all my projects. Next, I wanted to talk about stashing your yarn. So we're about to move, and so with that, I had to pack up my yarn stash, which is what I did. So I first logged all of my yarn onto Ravelry. If you haven't used Ravelry as kind of a way to keep track of things, and that's something that interests you, I would highly recommend utilizing Ravelry as a database. You can log stash and projects and all of your patterns in one location, which is really, really nice. So I did that, logged all my stash, and as I was doing that, I was packing it up. To pack it up, I put them all into really large totes. I'm going to turn you here. Sorry about that. And you can see these large totes. And I categorized each tote to be varying weights of yarn. So DK, sport, fingering. Okay, don't get busy here. Hang on. There we go. You can pick up these totes on Amazon, and this is what they are. They're called moving bags. You can get them in various colors. I got mine in clear. They are 24-gallon size, large rectangle with handles. I figured that would be a good way to move and stash yarn, especially since we don't know where we're going to end up. This gives me a way to, if it needs to be stored in a storage unit or in a garage for a while, then it'll be safe in there. On top of those bags, I've also as I was putting away, picked up these bags also on Amazon, and you can get them in a bunch of different sizes, and it's a way just to kind of bundle them together. So that was one thing I found out, is that I had just a bunch of the same color in various different places in my stash, and I'm like, well, I need to organize it better and keep them together. So that's why I got these bags. So utilizing both methods also worked. And then for a third method, because I have quite a bit of acrylic yarn that's in those large skeins, I picked up, sorry for the crinkle, vacuum storage bags. And these, you open them up like a Ziploc, close them up like a Ziploc, and then you use the tool that comes in the bag to suck all the air out. And then that flattens your yarn down, your garments, your bedding, down to a very skinny size for storing away, and also adds a protection layer. So these worked out great because they were just the right size to fit into those bags. These ones also came in various sizes, so you had like the super big, you had the super big all the way down to a little bit smaller sizes. That gives you a way to just suck the air out and create more space. So that is what I figured out for my yarn stash storing, just to be in preparation for all of that. So I'm also curious what's going to happen when I don't have access to my stash. Will my amount of new projects change, and will I actually accomplish more projects? I'm anticipating that, right? Because I don't have my stash on display calling to me to use them. That's what I find I love about my yarn stash, is that it's like artwork to me. It's beautiful, it's textural, it has a smell, it's just beautiful to look at. So my stash is like my artwork, and I really enjoy that. So I'm not sure what will come of the new place when we get there, but we shall see. More to come. What do you do for your yarn stash storage? Do you have storage systems such as utilizing bags? Do you put it on display? Do you just have them in bins? What have you created? We don't have a problem with moths here in the Pacific Northwest, so the moths are not really an issue, but I am, would like to protect it from, dust and just the moving process itself. So this has worked out well for me. So yeah, I have boxed up all of my stash. One thing I did want to mention is the Whip Smackdown. So Whip Smackdown, as I was going through my stash and my projects and all of that, I decided to frog 2 items. So that takes me from last count of 26 down to 24 works in progress from 2025 and before that. One of the items I decided to frog was an amigurumi I started for my son more than 5 years ago. I think it was a good decision because my technique has changed, my gauge has changed, so I think it was like, yeah, we just need to make that decision. So I did. The other thing is that I did sign up to be a volunteer at Flock Fiber Festival. I've not heard back if that will be the case or not, but I think it would be a great way to serve, but yet be a part of the event in a way. Without just being a consumer. But I was thinking it would be good to carpool up to Flock, right? If you carpool, you get to save a little money, which you could then use for, other things. Maybe some yarn. But if you are interested in carpooling, shoot me an email. My email will be in the description box below, and I think that would be a really fun thing to do. One, to get to know you guys, as well as just hang out and have a great time together. Anyway, I thank you for spending time with me. I hope you have a great afternoon, and yeah, happy crafting. Bye.